Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. And like Nesrin said, I'm going to talk about what it is to be building for the edge. Like she said, I'm Sebastien Chopin. I'm the creator of Nuxt and CEO at NuxtLabs. Our mission is to create the best developer experience in order to build the best user experience. I mean, for you to build the best user experience. You can find me on the social network with the username @Linux. So what is the edge? Does anyone here know what it is? OK, few people here. It is a limited JavaScript runtime running on CDN nodes. So basically, you can execute JavaScript where normally the static files live when you publish static files. But you can have JavaScript running there now. And it is actually everywhere. So it runs milliseconds to your end users. It benefits from a zero millisecond cold start compared to traditional serverless, where you have to spawn a virtual machine at one point. It benefits from request and context isolation, as it runs into a V8 engine, so no shared state between requests. It's quite affordable, cheaper than serverless. You can get, for instance, 100,000 requests per day on a free CloudFlare account. But it has limitations. You cannot use Node.js API. You cannot use browser APIs. So no file system, no HTTP server to create, and no DOM manipulation. And I say subset because those different providers are supporting more and more Node.js APIs. And another issue will be the small server size limitation, so you cannot upload more than 10 megabyte gzipped of JavaScript. And once you deploy to those edge platforms, your code is replicated on many nodes. So this is the example of the network for CloudFlare. So you can think of a load balancer, but actually every node you can see will be running your website. And there are many edge computing providers: AWS Lambda Edge, Bunny.net, Cloudflare Pages, Cloudflare Workers, Deno Deploy, Fastly Compute, Netlify Edge Functions, Vercel Edge Function, and Wasmer Edge, and there are others that I may have forget. And like I mentioned, these two limitations can be an issue. And we worked as we were working on Nuxt three years ago to make sure you can deploy a Nuxt website on this runtime. So who knows Nuxt.js? That's nice. So I would say like 73% of the room. It's a progressive web framework to create full-stack application with TypeScript and Vue.js. I created it in October 2016, so it's been almost 9 years now. It has 77,000 stars on GitHub and is now downloaded more than 3 million times per month. And I'm very glad to see small businesses and bigger businesses using it in production and trusting us for many years. So some features, some of you may have heard about Next.js. On Nuxt, it's quite similar. We share the server-side rendering, but we have this capability of letting you disable server-side rendering globally if you want to build a simple dashboard, or at the root level. For instance, you want to say /dashboard, disable the server-side rendering. We also support pre-rendering, so you can pre-render your whole website. We have an internal crawler that will crawl your website to find other links in order to generate all of them. Or you can specify what route you want to pre-render, if you want to pre-render at build time or dynamically once your website is up and running. Then we have a way to define routes and layouts with automatic code splitting. So we will ship the minimum of JavaScript, and while you will be navigating, more JavaScript will be downloaded. Of course, we have data fetching. As we use Suspense with Vue.js, you can do data fetching at the component level, which in my opinion is very useful when you want to reuse and not be stuck only for data fetching at the page level. You can protect routes, adding words with the middleware. We have state management, and even though you can use plugins for this, but we have a basic state management if you want to share data between pages and components. You can create API routes. You may not have to if you use Strapi as a headless CMS. And we have something called layers. So basically, you can create a Nuxt app within a Nuxt app with a layers directory, or it can be also an NPM package, which allow you to have this domain-driven design where you can have a directory for a specific feature. Let's say you're building an e-commerce, you can have a cart layer, you can have a shop, a product layer, and etc. So each team works in a specific directory, and you can also run only one specific layer if you want to. And we have a plugin ecosystem that we call Module, with more than 200 modules to extend the Nuxt features or integrate to various services. And lastly, you can deploy Nuxt everywhere. There is no vendor locked-in, and I will explain a bit more about this. We have also official module, as we wanted the Nuxt to be as light as possible. So we have Nuxt content if you want to work with Markdown. You're working on documentation, a portfolio. This is our file-based CMS. We have a ESLint integration. Fonts, which has been released, I think, a year ago, to add custom web fonts that you can pick from Google Font or other providers with performance in mind. A Nuxt icon, if you want to use more than 200,000 free icons coming from Iconify. Nuxt image for performance, for adding images with resizing and making sure you are on top of the performance, and supporting many providers. Nuxt scripts, this was one of the hardest work we did in partnership with the Aurora team from Google Chrome. As you know, you can build a fast website, and then your client is asking you to add a specific script for A/B testing or a tag manager, and it just kills your performance. We worked on this package to make sure that it's added without sacrificing the performance of your hard work. Nuxt.js utils, I guess everyone here is testing the app, so very important. And we also released, I think a year and a half ago, Nuxt UI, which is our UI library on top of Weka UI and Tailwind CSS. You can install this module with one command, or actually any other modules. Of course, we have a module for Strapi. You can add the module with one command. You set the Strapi URL. By default, if you run Strapi locally, it will choose the local Strapi URL. And then you can use the view composable we created in your view code. So if you want to fetch collections or logging in, we support this authentication right inside the module. And we have a documentation, of course, with this. But coming back to the Edge runtime, I want to explain how we made this possible. So first, in order to make sure that the module you use, or sometimes you may use some Node.js dependency without knowing, we are proxying or polyfying as much as possible Node.js module, so it works automatically once you deploy into those platforms. We also worked on optimizing as much as possible the build output. So this is a basic Nuxt application. And here I'm going to build and specify that I want to build for CloudFlare. So what it's going to do is create an output directory. And inside this output, this is your whole application, server included, all your components, all your routes. And we can see that the total size of this output is 700 kilobytes. And actually, gzipped is, let me see, 227 kilobytes. So that's the size of Nuxt for production without component. But then all the code you will add will be part of this. But this is like, let's say, the OS size of Nuxt for production, including your client-side code. And we also work to optimize as much as possible the cold start. So here I have a production application built for Node.js. So as you can see, you don't need to do npm install on production. You take this output. You just need to have Node, for instance, and it will work out of the box. Here, I'm running my server, so it loads the main chunk in 4 milliseconds, and it's listening. I'm calling an API route. We can see here that it's loading the hello chunk, which is my hello route on the API side. Then, if I'm calling again, it won't load this chunk as it's already in memory. And if I try now to render the home page, we can see that it will load the chunks for rendering the view application. So this is optimized for serverless, as it will create, like I said, context isolation and context. It will start your Nuxt server every time. So we want to make sure that if your user call an API, it won't load all your bundle to be as fast as possible. So this is, we can't optimize more than this, honestly. It's very fast. So how it is to build for the different platform? Well, we worked on a server engine that you don't have to worry about. So what you can set is an argument to say preset equal, and here are the different platforms. And if we take an example of how it looks like if you want to deploy on CloudFlare, it has this specific syntax. It exports an object with a fetch request, which is different than Node.js. So the preset is actually converting your code to these different output. I think a live demo could be helpful for you to see how it looks like. So here I have a default Nuxt application where I say it's only an app.view. So this is the main component. I have a Nuxt config. And the server is only for the type definition. And I have a public directory. So if I refresh, what I can do here is, instead of flashing a lot, can everyone see? Great. So in order to see that we have server-side rendering, what I'm going to do is a list of colors. And I want to choose a random color. Colors. Thank you, AI. Yeah. So as you can see here, when I refresh, I have a random color assigned to my title. But if I open the DevTool, I can see an error here happening. As Nuxt is a universal framework, it will sever render your code. So if we take a look here, we can see that we have the HTML with the color blue. But on the client side, it's telling me that I have, well, this is another one when I view the source code. It regenerates that I have a different color happening on client side, because that's what this is called hydration. We will remount the same application on client side for then ditching the server, and everything will happen on client side like a normal SPA. So in order to fix this hydration error, that I'm sure you also know if you do some Next.js, we can use this state management to say, OK, I'm going to create a variable that is going to be the same from the server to the client. So during the server, it will call this function. This is the default value. And then on the client side, it will reuse it, so it won't call this function. And if I take a look at the Nuxt DevTools, so this is a free tool we built inside Nuxt to make sure that you can inspect your application, see what's happening. We can see here that we don't have any pages. We have some built-in components in Nuxt. And if I take a look at the payload, I can see here my color value, which is red. I could also have inspected here and see where is my payload or the color. But that's not very friendly, developer-friendly. So we built a dev tool for you. So next, let's see how we can deploy this application on the edge. So what I can do is run the build command with the preset, CloudFlare module. And it's telling me that I can run this npx wrangler output dev. Maybe you don't see it properly for those at the end. And I have a command to deploy for production. So let's run this command. So then it's installing Wrangler, which is for CloudFlare. And hopefully I have internet working. Do I have internet working here? Let's go to my favorite website. Come on. OK. So now it's reading my generated config file from Nuxt and deploying to my CloudFlare account. And once it's done, I should have a URL of my Nuxt website with server-side rendering on the edge. So here we go. We have this website. If I refresh, I can see that the color is changing. And if I go to, let's say, this tool to check out the performances, we can see here. No, let's see if it's, thank you. We can see here that my server is answering anywhere in the world in less than 200 milliseconds. So I don't need to manage servers. It automatically scales with the traffic, and it's running close to my users. So that's what it takes. And as you can see, it's 1/5 of a megabyte. So let's go back to our application. And to make it a little bit fancier, I want to add a module called fonts to show you how easy it is to add custom font to your Nuxt application. So let's add a style block. And here I want my body to be public sans. And that's it. Nuxt fonts will automatically download. So let me open the DevTools here. Go to the Fonts tab. And we can see here that I have the public fonts, which is loaded. I should be able to see more about this. And let's go on Google and find another font, Pacifico. And it's going to be quite fast. Let's save. And we can see that I have a custom font, which has been downloaded and ready to use using the best practice for performance. And when I'm building my application, it will actually download the fonts, store it into my bundle size, so it won't make an API call to Google Font, respect the privacy, best practice. So now let's add another module that we have developed. So far, we don't leverage the Strapi client, which has been released or will be released soon, but we'll be able to upgrade it. And in order to use the Strapi module here, I'm going to set it in the .env, which are already set. And all I have to do in order to use Strapi, so for this example, what I want to do is leverage Strapi authentication. So let's go back here. Let's just set it on the title. What I want to do is, no, come on, don't spoil everything. I can use, I will write it myself, Strapi auth. We have TypeScript, so you can easily see what is available. And if I have a user. So what I want here is get the user. If I'm authenticated as a user, I want to display the user here and a button to log out the user. If I refresh, we can see that the user is not authenticated. So let's add a way to authenticate the user. So I'm going to create a form. And when I submit the form, I will call my submit function. But here, I want 3 things. First, a username. So I'm going to create here credentials, which will have username, email, and password. Let's create credentials.username here, placeholder username, email, type email, type text, sorry. And lastly, type password. And I will also say here, sign up. Now I can declare my function to sign up. We can call this auth.register, and if there is an error, I'm not going to dive into the UI here. I will just throw an alert. So let's see what happens if I try to sign up. I can see that the email or username already taken, because I tested this live demo, I have to admit, at least once. But thankfully, I have a super Strapi admin where I can manage my user. So I can delete my user here, go back to my application, sign up, and we can see here that I have my user, which is filled. And if I refresh the page, the module will add the right plugin into Nuxt to handle the authentication. And obviously, I can also add the login form here if I want to, for instance. And I can also add, come on. And this time, it will not offer me to log in. And here, we have this identifier, which is credentials.username and password. And we should be able to log in here, username or email. Let's try. Sorry? Thank you. As you can see, I'm not even looking at the console. I know you guys are here for me. So thank you. And identifier is a required field, so obviously identifier. Yes, it's working. What I can do is obviously build again my application. Yeah, I'm very lazy. I need to. And no, let's copy paste this one. And I can deploy again my application. Obviously, we'll use the Strapi API I've been using locally. If I want to, I can go to CloudFlare, change my environment variables if I want to change my Strapi endpoint. And I should be able to have, what is the last one? Yeah, I have it. And if I'm logging in, working with server-side rendering on the edge, that's how it takes so far. So if I go back here on my slides, you can try Nuxt on Nuxt.com to read the documentation or explore what repository we have in open source on GitHub. But if you're not a big fan of Vue, and it can happen, the whole server and build engine is completely agnostic. When we developed Nuxt 3, we decided to extract this server and build engine and call it Nitro. And so far, Nitro is responsible for all the API routes or all the build presets you have seen, making sure all the output is minified. And Nitro is actually used by other frameworks. So if you like React, TanStack Start is using Nitro. So you'll have the same preset, the same experience. On the Vue part, obviously Nuxt. On Angular, we have Analog.js. And on the Solid.js, we have Solid Start. And more will be coming. And it's been a pleasure to see more web framework adopting Nitro. If you want to create only APIs, you can use Nitro, and it will work the same. You can also use your own front end as well, create your own web framework if you want to. Check it out. It's open source under MIT license as well. Highly recommend it. And that's all for me. Thank you.